The copper-red sky of Viridian 7 stretched across the horizon like a blood-stained canvas. Dust particles danced in the thin atmosphere, refracting the light of the distant sun into crimson hues that painted the barren landscape. The silica-rich terrain sparkled under the alien sunlight, beautiful yet deadly in its deceptive tranquility. This was the frontier, the untamed wilderness where the Galactic Federation established its newest outpost for cadet training. Among the 28 cadets disembarking from the transport vessel, Cadet Maya Carter stood quietly, her eyes calculating behind the protective visor of her environmental suit. Unlike the others who chatted excitedly or complained about the harsh conditions, Maya observed, analyzed, and memorized every detail of their new surroundings. Her specialty as a survival engineer made her particularly sensitive to the subtle dangers this planet presented, dangers that high-tech equipment often failed to detect. "Welcome to Hell Week, cadets," announced Commander Cav Sarah, stepping forward with the practiced confidence of someone who had broken countless recruits before. Her exoskeleton suit hummed with each movement, a testament to the Federation's reliance on advanced technology. 7 days on Viridian 7 will separate the true Federation material from the waste. This is not a simulation. The conditions are real. The dangers are real. And yes, she paused for dramatic effect, the mortality rate is real. The cadets fell silent, suddenly aware of the gravity of their situation. They were the best and brightest from across 17 star systems. But Viridian 7 didn't care about academic achievements or simulator scores. Your primary objective is simple: survive. Your secondary objective: maintain operational readiness of all team members and equipment. If you lose more than 3 cadets to medical evacuation, the entire team fails. Period. Maya felt the weight of several glances in her direction. As the only human from Earth in this training cohort, she was already an oddity. Humans were relatively new to the Federation, only joining 2 decades ago after achieving faster-than-light travel. The other species had centuries more experience in space exploration and adaptation. Many considered humans to be primitive, technologically behind despite their rapid advancement. Each of you has been assigned a specialty based on your highest aptitude scores. Commander Sarah continued. You will collectively establish Base Camp Alpha in Grid Sector 9, which should be appearing on your navigation displays now. Maya's wrist computer blinked with the coordinates, approximately 12 kilometers northwest of their landing site. The terrain between would include silica dunes, razor-sharp rock formations, and if the briefing was accurate, at least one crossing of the indigenous vegetation zone known as the Crimson Belt. Move out, cadets. The Federation doesn't reward those who wait for instructions to be repeated. The group began their trek across the forbidding landscape, equipment packs weighing heavily on their backs. Maya found herself walking alongside Cadet Omar Lee, a proximan with bioluminescent markings that pulsed gently beneath his transparent environmental suit. Unlike most of the others, Omar had made a point of introducing himself to Maya during their journey to Viridian 7. Temperatures already hitting 43 degrees Celsius, Omar remarked, glancing at his environmental readings. And it's not even midday yet. Maya nodded. The silica will reflect heat. It'll get worse before it gets better. You've studied this place? Omar asked, surprised. I study all training grounds, Maya replied simply. Knowledge is survival. Omar chuckled. My old instructor used to say technology is survival. I guess we'll see which approach works better out here. Maybe both, Maya offered with a small smile. 3 hours into their journey, the group encountered the first challenge. A massive silica dune rose before them, its surface glittering menacingly in the harsh sunlight. The fine particles were known to damage respiratory filters and abrade joint seals on environmental suits. Perfect, muttered Cadet Roll, a tall Andromedan with metallic blue skin and a perpetual expression of disdain. I was hoping for a nice dust bath to ruin my equipment, We could go around, suggested another cadet, a Rigelian named Tix. And add 2 hours to our journey time? Roll scoffed. No thanks. I'm not spending any more time in this hellhole than necessary. Commander Sarah watched silently, making notes on her datapad, her expression unreadable behind her reinforced visor. This was clearly the first test. How would they handle an environmental obstacle? Maya stepped forward, kneeling at the base of the dune. She scooped a handful of the silica dust, letting it run through her gloved fingers. What's Earth Girl doing? Testing if it's beach-quality sand? Roll snickered, earning a few laughs from the group. Maya ignored him, focusing instead on the consistency and behavior of the particles. The silica concentration is high, but there's binding compound mixed in, probably from the last acid rain. If we dampen the surface as we go, we can create a temporary crust strong enough to walk on without kicking up particles. Commander Sarah's head tilted slightly, the only indication that Maya's observation had caught her attention. And waste our water supplies? Brilliant plan, Roll countered. Not drinking water, Maya clarified, reaching into her pack. She pulled out a small container of biodegradable binding agent. Standard survival kit includes this. 1 drop per square meter will be enough. Before Roll could object further, Omar stepped forward. I've got some too. Let's do it. Carter's way. The team proceeded across the dune, using Maya's method, applying the binding agent in a zigzag pattern to create a stable path. Not a single environmental suit reported particle infiltration, and they cleared the obstacle in less than 30 minutes. Commander Sarah made no comment, but Maya noticed the commander's gaze lingering on her a moment longer than necessary. Whether that was approval or suspicion remained unclear. By nightfall, the cadets had established Base Camp Alpha in a natural depression that offered some protection from the constant winds. The Federation issue shelters assembled themselves with minimal input, transforming from compact cylinders into geodesic domes capable of withstanding Viridian 7's notorious dust storms. Tomorrow we begin resource gathering, Commander Sarah announced as the cadets gathered for their evening meal. This outpost must become self-sufficient within 5 days. Your primary concern will be water acquisition. The atmosphere in the camp grew tense. Water was the most precious resource on Viridian 7, scarce, often contaminated, and absolutely essential for survival. Each team will be assigned a sector to survey for water sources. The commander continued. Your suit's sensors are calibrated to detect moisture concentrations above 2%. Finding water is half the challenge. Purifying it is the other half. Maya listened carefully, mentally cataloging the information against what she already knew about Viridian 7's hydrological systems. The planet's water was naturally infused with silicate compounds and various heavy metals, a lethal combination for most species without proper filtration. After the briefing, the cadets separated into their assigned sleeping quarters. Maya found herself sharing with Omar and 2 female cadets, Syl, a willowy Altarian with photosynthetic skin, and Jace, a compact, muscular humanoid from Tau Ceti, with reflective eyes that seemed to absorb light rather than reflect it. You're the survival specialist, right? Jace asked Maya as they settled in. The human? Maya nodded. Yes to both. Interesting choice, Jace remarked. Most humans I've met prefer engineering or communication roles. I grew up in the post-climate crisis recovery zones on Earth, Maya explained, checking her equipment methodically as she spoke. Survival wasn't a career choice. It was daily life. That explains a lot, Omar said. The way you handled that dune crossing today, that was experience thinking. Syl, who had been quiet until now, leaned forward. Is it true humans used to filter water through rocks and sand before they developed molecular purification? Maya smiled slightly. We still do, in many parts of Earth. Some of the oldest methods are still the most reliable when technology fails. Primitive but charming, Syl replied. her tone somewhere between condescension and genuine interest. "Primitive works when batteries die," Maya said simply, before turning over in her sleeping pod, effectively ending the conversation. As Maya drifted toward sleep, her mind was already working through contingency plans. Something about Commander Sarah's emphasis on water purification had triggered her instincts. The training scenarios were always designed with a hidden challenge, one that tested adaptability rather than technical skill. If finding water was meant to be difficult but achievable, then the real test would likely come in the purification stage. The next morning arrived with an ominous red glow as Viridian 7's sun struggled to penetrate the dusty atmosphere. The teams assembled quickly, receiving their sector assignments and equipment loadouts. Maya's team was assigned to Sector 12, a region characterized by shallow ravines that might potentially harbor underground water deposits. As they prepared to depart, Commander Sarah approached their group. "Cadet Carter," she said, her voice amplified slightly through her suit's communication system. "A word." Maya stepped aside while her teammates continued preparations. "Your file indicates specialized training in extreme environment water procurement," Commander Sarah stated, rather than asked. "Care to elaborate?" Maya maintained a neutral expression. "My training included 3 years in the Australian Outback Reclamation Zone and 18 months in the Atacama. Both locations required innovative water extraction techniques." Commander Sarah nodded slowly. "The Federation values diverse experience, Cadet. But remember, out here, Federation protocols exist for a reason. Deviations, however well-intentioned, can endanger the entire team." "Understood, Commander." "Do you?" Sarah's voice hardened slightly. "Because your approach to the dune crossing yesterday, while effective, was not standard procedure." "With respect, Commander, standard procedure would have damaged our equipment and slowed our progress," Maya replied evenly. A tense silence followed before Commander Sarah replied. "Results matter, Cadet Carter, but in the Federation, so does uniformity of approach. Remember that." The commander walked away, leaving Maya with an unsettled feeling. The warning was clear. Innovation was tolerated only if it aligned with Federation expectations. Sector 12 proved to be as challenging as expected. The ravines were treacherous, with unstable edges that crumbled under the slightest pressure. The team moved cautiously, their suit sensors sweeping continuously for moisture signatures. "I'm getting something," Omar announced after 3 hours of searching. "Faint reading, about 20 meters below that outcropping." The team gathered at the edge of a particularly steep ravine, examining the sensor data on their shared display. "That's definitely water," Jace confirmed. "But the access point is problematic. Those rocks look unstable." Syl calculated quickly. "We could deploy the excavation drone. It's designed for precisely this kind of operation." "The drone will disturb the loose surface material," Maya observed. "We might lose the water pocket entirely if it collapses." Roll, who was leading another team nearby, approached with his characteristic swagger. "Problems. Team 4? Need some assistance from professionals?" Omar bristled visibly. "We've located a water source. We're determining the optimal extraction method." "Let me guess," Roll smirked, glancing at Maya. "Earth Girl wants to dig it out with her bare hands? Maybe whisper some primitive water prayers?" Maya ignored the taunt. "The water pocket is trapped beneath an unstable silica shelf. Standard extraction might collapse it." "That's why we have adaptive drilling equipment," Roll stated condescendingly. "Latest Federation tech, designed specifically for unstable environments." He held up a compact device that expanded into a sophisticated drilling apparatus. "Molecular bonding as it penetrates strengthens the surrounding material rather than weakening it." Maya had to admit the technology was impressive. "Will that work through silicate layers this dense?" "Watch and learn. Primitive," Roll grinned, signaling his team to set up the equipment. The drilling proceeded smoothly at first. The device hummed softly as it created a narrow shaft down toward the water pocket, leaving behind a reinforced tunnel lined with molecular bonding agents. The teams watched their sensor readings as the drill approached the water source. 5 meters to target, announced one of Roll's teammates. A stocky Procyon with multiple arms controlling the drill's guidance system. "See? Federation technology at its..." Roll began, but was interrupted by a sudden alarm from the drilling equipment. "Unexpected density change," the Procyon operator called out. "The composition is shifting." Maya stepped forward quickly. "Pull it back. The water's not in a pocket, it's in a suspension matrix." "What are you talking about?" Roll demanded. "The water isn't free-flowing underground. It's bound in a silica gel matrix. Your drill is about to hit a pressurized pocket," Maya explained urgently. "That's ridiculous. The sensors would have..." A loud crack interrupted him as the ground beneath the drilling equipment suddenly collapsed. The drill disappeared into a widening hole, followed by a geyser of grayish liquid that shot 15 meters into the air before raining down on the assembled cadets. "Containment breach! Everyone back!" Commander Sarah's voice boomed through their communication systems. She had been observing from a distance and now rushed forward, her suit's hazard systems already analyzing the mysterious fluid. The cadets retreated hastily, checking their suits for contamination. The liquid had splashed several of them, leaving an oily residue on their visors and equipment. "What is this stuff?" Jace asked, examining the substance coating her glove. Commander Sarah's analysis completed with an ominous beep. "Silicate suspension with high concentrations of hexavalent chromium and arsenic compounds. Highly toxic to all Federation species." A tense silence fell over the group. "The good news," Commander Sarah continued, "is that your suits have protected you from direct exposure. The bad news is that we now have contaminated equipment and a training scenario that just became very real." Maya studied the residue carefully. The consistency was unusual, thicker than water, but not as viscous as oil, with a slight iridescence that suggested complex molecular structures. "All teams return to base camp immediately," Commander Sarah ordered. "Decontamination protocols will be implemented. Team leaders, prepare equipment status reports." The journey back to camp was subdued. Roll kept his distance from Maya's team, his earlier bravado replaced by sullen silence. The failed drilling attempt had cost his team valuable equipment and credibility. At camp, the full extent of the problem became clear. The contamination had affected not only the suits and equipment exposed during the drilling accident, but had somehow infiltrated the camp's central water purification system. "The molecular signature of the contaminant is adaptive," explained the technical specialist examining the system. "It's mimicking water molecules to bypass filtration barriers, then reforming once inside the system." Commander Sarah's expression was grim. "How long until we can restore purification capabilities?" "At least 48 hours. Commander, we need to completely disassemble and decontaminate each component. The molecular scrubbers are completely compromised." The implications hung heavily in the air. Without purified water, the training mission would quickly become a genuine survival situation. The commander addressed the anxious cadets. "This is now a Level 2 emergency scenario. All non-essential operations are suspended. Priority 1 is water purification restoration. Each team will contribute according to their specialty." As the cadets dispersed to their assignments, Maya lingered, studying the corrupted purification system. The Federation technology was impressive. Molecular separators, quantum filters, nanoscale extractors, all rendered useless by an unexpected contaminant. "Something on your mind, Cadet Carter?" Commander Sarah asked, noticing Maya's hesitation. "Permission to attempt an alternative purification method, Commander?" Sarah's eyebrows raised slightly. "The technical team estimates 48 hours for repairs. Do you have a faster solution?" "Not faster," Maya admitted, "but parallel. If the technical solution fails, we should have a backup." The commander considered this. "What did you have in mind?" A gravity filtration system using locally available materials, silica sand, indigenous plant fibers, and activated carbon from our emergency supplies. A primitive filter, Commander Sarah couldn't keep the skepticism from her voice. Against a molecular adaptive contaminant. The contaminant is adaptive to our technology because it shares certain molecular structures. A mechanical, gravity-based filtration doesn't rely on molecular recognition. It uses physical barriers of decreasing porosity. Commander Sarah studied Maya for a long moment. You have permission to attempt your alternative method, but it doesn't replace the primary restoration effort. Understood, Commander? And Cadet Carter? Sarah added, as Maya turned to leave. Don't pull resources from critical operations for your experiment. Maya nodded, already mentally cataloging what she would need. The commander's choice of words, experiment, revealed exactly how much faith she had in Maya's approach. Over the next several hours, Maya worked quietly at the edge of the camp, gathering materials and constructing her filtration system. She layered silica sand of various granularities in a conical formation, interspersed with crushed carbon from emergency fire starters and fibers harvested from the tough, rubber-like vegetation that grew in sparse patches around the camp. Omar found her as sunset approached, her hands covered in gray-black residue from the carbon activation process. Need any help? He offered, watching her carefully pack another layer of fine silica dust. Could you find more of these? Maya held up a reddish leaf-like structure she'd harvested from the local plant life. They contain natural antiseptic compounds. I've tested them against the contaminant sample, and they seem to neutralize some of the hexavalent chromium. Omar looked impressed. How did you know to try that? Maya shrugged. Earth plants evolved similar properties in chromium-contaminated regions after the climate crisis. I recognize the leaf structure. I'll find more, Omar promised, then hesitated. You know, Roll's been telling everyone your filter is going to fail spectacularly. Says you're wasting time with Stone Age technology. Roll is welcome to drink unfiltered water if my system fails, Maya replied calmly, continuing her work. Word of Maya's project spread through the camp, drawing mixed reactions. Some cadets were curious, stopping by to observe her methodical construction of the filtration system. Others, particularly those from technologically advanced worlds, openly scoffed. Is she seriously making a dirt filter? Maya overheard one cadet ask another. Next, she'll be reading animal entrails to predict the weather. By nightfall, Maya had completed the basic structure, a series of graduated filtration layers housed in a makeshift container fashioned from emergency shelter components. The system looked crude compared to the sleek Federation purification unit, its layers of sand, carbon, and plant material visible through the transparent sides. Commander Sarah inspected the creation with poorly concealed doubt. Your apparatus is ready for testing, Cadet Carter? Almost, Commander. The final antimicrobial layer needs 12 more hours to properly activate, Maya explained. The bacteria I've cultivated from the indigenous plant matter need time to establish colonies. Bacteria? The commander's expression shifted from doubt to alarm. You're introducing microorganisms to our water supply? Beneficial bacteria that consume heavy metals and convert toxic compounds, Maya clarified. They'll die once their food source is depleted, leaving behind purified water. Commander Sarah shook her head. The Federation has spent decades eliminating biological variables from life support systems, and you're deliberately introducing them. This is exactly the kind of primitive thinking that... She stopped herself, regaining her professional composure. Proceed with your experiment, Cadet. But be warned, if your system introduces any new contaminants, you'll be the first test subject. Understood, Commander. As Sarah walked away, Roll approached with several of his teammates. Quite the mud pie you've made, Earth Girl, he remarked, circling the filtration system with exaggerated interest. Very quaint. It's a proven filtration method that's worked for centuries on Earth. Maya responded evenly. Yes, well, Earth was also proven to be flat for centuries, wasn't it? Roll smirked. Some proven methods deserve to be retired. His companions laughed, but Maya noticed that a few other cadets watching the exchange seemed less certain, their expressions thoughtful rather than dismissive. The technical team reports that the molecular scrubbers are more damaged than initially assessed. Roll continued, his tone becoming serious. The 48-hour estimate has been extended to 72 hours minimum. This was concerning news. The cadets had water rations for emergency use, but 3 days would stretch those supplies dangerously thin in Viridian 7's harsh conditions. My system will be operational tomorrow morning, Maya stated. Anyone is welcome to test the results. I'll pass, Roll snorted. I prefer my internal organs unpoisoned, thanks. As night fell on the second day of the water crisis, an unexpected complication arose. One of the cadets from Roll's team, a reptilian saurian named Vex, began showing signs of dehydration, despite adhering to rationing protocols. Saurian metabolism, explained the team's medical specialist. They require almost twice the water intake of other species in high-temperature environments. Their natural cooling system depletes their fluid reserves much faster. Commander Sarah faced a difficult decision. How many other saurians do we have in the cohort? 3. Commander. Vex is showing symptoms first because he was exposed to the highest concentration of contaminants during the drilling accident. The toxins are accelerating his dehydration. Options? Sarah demanded. Medical evacuation is the safest course, the specialist advised. But that would be one strike against mission completion. Alternatively, we could attempt emergency rehydration using filtered reserves, but with the current contamination levels. The implication was clear. Using their limited filtered reserves might save Vex, but would leave the other saurians vulnerable as supplies dwindled. Maya stepped forward. Commander, my filtration system is nearly operational. I can accelerate the final stage if necessary. Sarah looked torn between skepticism and desperate need. The medical risks of using an untested filtration method are less than the certainty of severe dehydration, Maya finished quietly. I've designed this system specifically to target the contaminants we're facing. After a moment of tense consideration, the commander nodded. Accelerate your timeline, Cadet Carter. But be aware, if your system fails, we'll have wasted precious resources and time we cannot recover. Maya worked through the night, carefully monitoring the bacterial colonies and making final adjustments to the filtration layers. Omar and Jace joined her, following her instructions to gather additional plant material and prepare carbon substrates. Do you really think this will work against something that defeated Federation technology? Jace asked, as they worked. That's the irony, Maya replied. It's not about being more advanced. The contaminant evolved to mimic molecular signatures that our technology recognizes. My system doesn't try to identify molecular structures. It simply creates physical barriers that the contaminant can't pass through, regardless of what it mimics. By dawn, the filtration system was ready. A small crowd of cadets gathered to witness the first test, their expressions ranging from hope to open disbelief. Commander Sarah stood at the front, her arms crossed and her face impassive. The process is simple, Maya explained, lifting a container of contaminated water. The water passes through 7 distinct layers. Each layer targets specific contaminants, from large particulates down to molecular compounds. She poured the gray-tinged water into the top of the system. The liquid slowly percolated through the visible layers, its color gradually changing as it descended through sand, carbon, and plant material. Everyone watched in tense silence as the first drops emerged from the bottom layer, collecting in a clear container. The resulting liquid was noticeably clearer, but still retained a slight cloudiness. This is the first pass result, Maya explained. For drinking water, I recommend 3 complete filtration cycles. Commander Sarah stepped forward, examining the filtered water with a handheld analyzer. After a moment, the device beeped, and she frowned at the readout. Contaminant levels are reduced by 64.3%, she announced. Significant improvement, but still not within safe consumption parameters for any Federation species. As expected for a single pass, Maya nodded. The second filtration should bring it to approximately 85% purity, and the third to over 95%. Proceed, Sarah ordered, her tone giving away nothing of her thoughts on the initial results. Maya filtered the water twice more, each time achieving clearer results. After the third pass, the liquid was crystal clear, showing no visible signs of contamination. Commander Sarah's analyzer confirmed what their eyes suggested. 96.8% purity, she announced, genuine surprise evident in her voice. That's within emergency consumption parameters for most Federation species. A murmur ran through the assembled cadets. Even Roll looked taken aback by the results. What about the remaining 3.2%? He challenged. Still toxic enough to cause damage over time? The remaining contaminants are primarily non-toxic silicates, Maya explained. Similar to dissolved minerals in natural spring water, they pose no health risk to any Federation species I'm aware of. Commander Sarah ran another analysis, confirming Maya's assessment. The water is safe for emergency consumption, she concluded. Cadet Carter, prepare enough for Cadet Vex immediately. Medical team, monitor his condition closely after administration. As Maya worked to filter more water, she noticed a shift in the other cadets' attitudes. The openly skeptical glances had been replaced by curious observation, with several cadets asking questions about the filtration process. Could you show me how to identify the right plant materials? Asked a Centaurian cadet, who had previously avoided Maya entirely. Of course, Maya agreed, surprised but pleased by the request. Within hours, Vex showed significant improvement after receiving the filtered water. The medical specialist confirmed that his hydration levels were stabilizing, and the toxin concentrations in his system were decreasing. Your primitive technology appears effective, Cadet Carter. Commander Sarah acknowledged that evening during the team briefing. While the technical team continues repairs on our primary systems, I'm authorizing the construction of additional filtration units based on your design. This was a significant victory, but Maya kept her expression neutral. Thank you, Commander. I can assist any teams that need guidance. That won't be necessary, Sarah replied. You'll document the process in detail, and team leaders will implement based on your specifications. Maya understood the subtext. Her method was being adopted, but the commander was maintaining control of the implementation. It was a political compromise that preserved Federation authority while addressing the immediate crisis. Over the next day, each team constructed their own filtration system under Maya's guidance. The process became a collaborative effort, with cadets contributing refinements based on their specialties. A Procyon engineer suggested a more efficient layering pattern. A Rigelian botanist identified additional plant species with complementary filtration properties. Even Roll's team participated, though Roll himself remained aloof, supervising rather than directly engaging. By the third day of the crisis, the camp had established a functional water purification operation that produced enough safe drinking water for all cadets. The original Federation purification system remained offline, its complex components still undergoing decontamination. The technical team reports at least another 36 hours before primary systems restoration, Commander Sarah informed the group during the evening briefing. Until then, we will continue using the Carter Protocol filtration systems. A ripple of reaction passed through the assembled cadets at the commander's choice of words. By naming the method after Maya, Sarah had officially recognized it as a legitimate Federation procedure, a rare honor for a cadet, particularly one using primitive techniques. Maya felt a complex mix of emotions at this recognition. Pride, certainly, but also a deep satisfaction that went beyond personal achievement. This wasn't just about her idea being accepted. It represented a broader acknowledgement that sometimes the oldest solutions remained valuable, even in an age of advanced technology. Later that evening, as Maya was maintaining her filtration system, Roll approached alone. His usual smugness was absent, replaced by a more thoughtful expression. "Your filter saved Vex," he stated without preamble. "The medical specialist says he would have required evacuation without adequate hydration." Maya nodded, continuing her work. "I'm glad he's recovering." "Why didn't you gloat?" Roll asked suddenly. "When your system worked and our technology failed, you had every right to throw it in our faces." "I certainly would have." Maya considered the question seriously. "Because it's not a competition. Different approaches work in different situations. Your molecular purifiers are more efficient and practical in normal circumstances. My filter is just better adapted to this specific contaminant." Roll studied her for a moment. "The Federation doesn't always recognize that wisdom. We tend to assume newer always means better. Earth learned that lesson the hard way during the climate crisis," Maya replied. "We lost generations of traditional knowledge chasing technological solutions, only to rediscover that sometimes working with natural systems is more effective than trying to replace them." "You should document that perspective," Roll suggested, surprising her. "The Academy training modules are heavily biased toward technological solutions. Maybe it's time for some alternative viewpoints." "Is that an official recommendation, Team Leader Roll?" Maya asked with a hint of a smile. "Let's call it a professional observation," he replied, the corner of his mouth twitching upward. "Don't expect me to start building mud filters for fun, though." "Wouldn't dream of it." On the morning of the 6th day, as the cadets prepared for their final training exercises, Commander Sarah called for an unscheduled assembly. The cadets gathered quickly, curious about the commander's serious expression. "Cadets, I've received new information from Federation Command regarding Viridian 7, she began, without preamble. "Long-range sensors have detected an approaching dust storm of unprecedented magnitude. Arrival estimated in 8 hours. Concern spread through the group. Viridian 7's dust storms were legendary for their ferocity. Microscopic silica particles that could strip protective coatings from equipment and infiltrate the smallest openings in shelters or suits. Standard protocol would be immediate evacuation," Sarah continued. "However, Command has authorized this as an extended training opportunity for those who wish to remain." A tense silence fell over the group. "To be clear, this is a voluntary extension. Anyone choosing to evacuate will complete the standard training program without penalty. Those who remain will receive advanced certification in extreme environment adaptation." Maya felt the weight of multiple gazes turning toward her. As the survival specialist who had already proven her worth during the water crisis, her decision would influence others. "What protections do we have against silica infiltration?" asked one cadet. "Standard shelters are rated for Category 3 dust events," Commander Sarah replied. "This storm is projected to reach Category 5, so the shelters will fail," Roll stated bluntly. "They will be compromised," Sarah corrected. "The degree of compromise depends on our preparation and adaptability." The implication was clear. Those who remained would face genuine danger, not just simulated training conditions. "I volunteer to stay," Maya said, her quiet voice carrying in the tense silence. Omar quickly added, "Me too." One by one, other cadets volunteered until nearly 2/3 of the group had committed to remaining. Roll was among them, though he looked less than thrilled about the prospect. "Very well," Commander Sarah nodded. "Those evacuating will depart in 1 hour. The rest of you, we have preparations to make." The next few hours were a flurry of activity as the cadets fortified their shelters and secured equipment. Maya found herself in high demand. her experience with Earth's post-crisis dust storms providing valuable insights for protection strategies. The filtration principles that work for water will work for air, she explained to a group of cadets reinforcing shelter seals. We need graduated barriers that capture particles of different sizes. Working together, the cadets created improvised air filtration systems using available materials. Maya showed them how to layer fabrics of different weaves with activated carbon to create effective masks and shelter filters. As the storm approached, the sky darkened to an ominous deep red. The wind rose steadily, carrying the first particles of the advancing silica cloud. The cadets completed their preparations just as the storm's leading edge reached them. All personnel to shelters immediately, Commander Sarah ordered through the communication system. Seal all entries and activate emergency protocols. Maya's team, now expanded to include several cadets who had recognized the value of her expertise, took shelter in a reinforced dome they had modified with additional filtration layers. Through the transparent sections, they watched as the storm engulfed the camp, transforming the landscape into a swirling nightmare of reddish-brown particles. Atmospheric density increasing rapidly, reported Jace, monitoring the external sensors. Visibility down to 2 meters and falling. The shelter creaked ominously as the wind battered against it. Fine dust began to seep through microscopic gaps despite their best efforts at sealing. Activate the secondary filters, Maya instructed, pulling a mask over her face. The others followed suit, donning the improvised filtration masks they had prepared. For 3 hours, the storm raged with increasing intensity. The communication system crackled with occasional updates from other shelters, some reporting minor breaches, others maintaining integrity. Commander Sarah's voice cut through periodically, calm and authoritative, keeping morale steady. Then came the first serious problem. Commander, this is Shelter 3. A strained voice reported through static. We have a structural compromise in the eastern quadrant. Reinforcement failing. Evacuation protocol to nearest intact shelter, Sarah ordered immediately. Negative, Commander. External conditions exceed suit tolerance and we're trapped. The gravity of the situation hit everyone listening. Shelter 3 housed 5 cadets, including Roll. If their shelter failed completely, they would be exposed to conditions that could abrade their environmental suits within minutes, leading to potentially fatal silica inhalation. All teams, status report on shelter stability, Commander Sarah demanded. Do we have any structure capable of receiving Shelter 3 personnel if they attempt emergency transit? The responses were uniformly negative. Every shelter was compromised to some degree. With most reporting, they were at maximum capacity already. Maya studied their shelter's integrity readings. They were holding better than most, thanks to the additional filtration layers they had installed. But even with 5 additional people, the life support systems would be strained beyond safety margins. Commander, she said into her communicator, Shelter 4 has capacity for 3 additional personnel with current filtration systems. That leaves 2 exposed, Sarah replied tersely. Not if we improve our filtration efficiency, Maya countered. I believe we can modify our current system to support all 5. There was a brief pause before the commander responded. Explain. Maya quickly outlined her plan, a more aggressive filtration system that would allow them to accommodate the additional personnel without overwhelming their life support. Implementation time, Sarah asked. 20 minutes, Maya estimated. But Shelter 3 needs to begin preparations now for emergency transit. Understood. Shelter 3. Begin emergency preparations according to Cadet Carter's specifications. Shelter 4. Proceed with filtration modifications. For the next 20 minutes, Maya directed her team in a frantic reconfiguration of their shelter's filtration system. They repurposed materials, sacrificed non-essential equipment, and implemented a design that dramatically increased efficiency while reducing power consumption. Shelter 3, status, Commander Sarah demanded, as the modifications neared completion. Eastern Quadrant at 18% integrity and falling, came the tense reply. "We're ready for transit on your command." Shelter 4? "Modifications complete, Commander," Maya reported. "We're ready to receive—" "Execute emergency transit," Sarah ordered. "May the stars guide your path." The ancient blessing, rarely used in modern Federation communications, underscored the seriousness of the situation. Everyone understood the risk the Shelter 3 team was about to take. Maya's team positioned themselves at the shelter entrance, ready to implement immediate decontamination protocols as soon as the evacuees arrived. The minutes stretched painfully as they waited, listening to the howling storm outside and the increasingly urgent communications. Visibility 0. Navigating by beacon signal only. Liu's suit showing early abrasion warning, increasing pace. 50 meters to target, beacon signal fluctuating. 20 meters. Can't see the shelter. Suit integrity at 74%. Visual confirmation of Shelter 4, opening outer seal now. The shelter's entry chamber cycled open, and 5 dust-covered figures stumbled inside. The team quickly closed the outer seal and activated decontamination protocols, using air jets to remove as much silica as possible before opening the inner chamber. When the inner door finally opened, the evacuees collapsed into the main shelter space, their suits visibly damaged by the brief exposure to the storm. Roll was the last to enter, his tall frame supporting a smaller cadet whose suit showed alarming abrasion patterns across the visor. "Medical assistance," Roll gasped, his usual confidence replaced by urgent concern. "Liu's respirator is compromised." The team's medical specialist rushed forward, quickly assessing the damaged suit. "We need to get him out of the compromised equipment immediately." Working together, they carefully removed Liu's damaged helmet, revealing the Centaurian's face, streaked with blood, where silica particles had penetrated his respirator and lacerated his sensitive breathing membranes. "Applying temporary sealant to the lacerations," the specialist reported, working quickly. "Respiratory function diminished but stable." Roll slumped against the shelter wall, his own suit showing significant damage. "Shelter 3 is gone," he reported grimly. "Total structural failure approximately 2 minutes after we left." Commander Sarah's voice came through the communication system. "Confirmed. Shelter 3 has been destroyed. All personnel accounted for?" "Affirmative, Commander," Maya replied. 5 evacuees received, 1 requiring medical attention but stable. "Excellent work, all of you," Sarah acknowledged. "Storm intensity still increasing. Estimated duration now extended to 14 hours. Maintain shelter integrity and conserve resources." The combined teams settled in for a long wait, monitoring systems and tending to the injured. Despite the crowded conditions, Maya's modified filtration system performed admirably, maintaining breathable air quality even as the storm intensified outside. Roll approached Maya several hours later, after helping to stabilize Liu's condition. "Your filtration system saved our lives," he said without preamble. "Twice now." Maya shrugged slightly. "The principle is the same whether filtering water or air. Create barriers that target specific contaminants without requiring complex technology." "It's more than that," Roll insisted. "It's a fundamental approach that the Federation has overlooked in our rush to develop increasingly sophisticated technology. We've forgotten that sometimes the simplest solution is the most reliable." "Not forgotten," Maya corrected gently. "Just temporarily set aside. The knowledge is still there, waiting to be rediscovered when needed." Roll nodded thoughtfully. "I've recommended to Commander Sarah that your filtration designs be incorporated into standard Federation emergency protocols. The Carter Protocol should be more than just a temporary solution on a training mission." Maya looked surprised. "Thank you. That's unexpected coming from you. I'm capable of acknowledging superior approaches when demonstrated," Roll replied, with a hint of his old arrogance. Then, more seriously, "The Federation's strength has always been its ability to incorporate diverse perspectives. We've perhaps become too homogenized in recent decades. Their conversation was interrupted by a sudden fluctuation in the shelter's lighting. The power system, strained by the additional personnel and enhanced filtration, was showing signs of instability. "Power management protocols," Omar called out, already moving toward the control panel. "Reducing non-essential systems." The shelter dimmed as lighting reduced to emergency levels. Outside, the storm continued unabated, particles striking the shelter walls with increasing force as the wind intensified. "Structural integrity at 72% and holding," Jace reported, monitoring the shelter's status. "Filtration efficiency at 89%, despite increased load." "We should reinforce the northeast quadrant," Maya suggested, examining the sensor readings. "The strain pattern indicates potential weakness developing." The combined team worked together seamlessly now, all previous tensions forgotten in the face of shared danger. Roll's technical expertise complemented Maya's practical approach, while the others contributed their specialized skills to maintain the shelter's integrity. As the storm reached its peak intensity, their efforts were tested to the limit. The shelter groaned under the relentless assault of wind and abrasive particles. The filtration system labored continuously, processing the fine dust that inevitably penetrated their defenses. "Power reserves at 34%, Omar reported grimly. "At current consumption rates, we'll lose life support in approximately 6 hours. The storm is projected to last at least 8 more hours, Jace added. Maya considered their options. "We need to reduce power consumption without compromising essential systems. The filtration system is our largest power draw," Roll observed. "But reducing its efficiency isn't an option with our current atmospheric contamination levels." An idea formed in Maya's mind. Another application of primitive technology that might solve their modern problem. What if we create a passive filtration system that doesn't require power? "That's impossible," one of Roll's team members objected. "The particulate density is too high for passive systems." "Not impossible," Maya corrected. "Just forgotten. On Earth, we used gravity-assisted air filtration during the worst dust storms of the climate crisis." She quickly outlined her concept: a series of connected chambers where air would flow naturally due to temperature differentials, passing through filtration media without requiring powered fans or processors. "It's basically a chimney effect," she explained. "Warm air rises, creating a natural circulation that we can direct through filtration layers." "That might work for gross particulates," Roll acknowledged. "But what about the microscopic silica that's causing the real damage?" "That's where we combine approaches," Maya replied. "We use passive circulation for the majority of the air volume, reducing the load on the powered system, which can then focus exclusively on final-stage microscopic filtration." After some debate, the team agreed to attempt the modification. Using available materials, they constructed a passive circulation system that directed air through a series of improvised filters before it reached the powered final-stage unit. The results were immediate and significant. Power consumption dropped by 42% as the hybrid system took over a substantial portion of the filtration workload. "Power reserves now sufficient for 12 hours at current consumption rates," Omar reported with obvious relief. "We should outlast the storm." Commander Sarah checked in periodically, coordinating between the surviving shelters. 2 other groups had been forced to evacuate as their structures failed, finding refuge in more stable shelters. So far, no casualties had been reported beyond minor injuries, though several cadets were showing early signs of silica-related respiratory distress. The Federation extraction team has been delayed by storm conditions in the upper atmosphere, Sarah informed them during one communication. Earliest arrival now estimated at 6 hours after storm cessation. "We'll make it, Commander," Maya assured her. "All shelters have implemented hybrid filtration systems based on our model. Power reserves are holding steady." "Acknowledged, Cadet Carter," Sarah replied, and Maya thought she detected a note of genuine respect in the commander's voice. Your innovation continues to impress. The storm finally began to abate 14 hours after it began, gradually diminishing from a howling maelstrom to a gentle hiss of settling particles. As visibility improved, the true extent of the storm's impact became clear through the shelter's viewports. The landscape had been completely transformed. Dunes had shifted, equipment had been buried or exposed, and a thick layer of reddish dust covered everything in sight. The Federation shelters, designed to withstand extreme conditions, showed visible signs of damage: abraded surfaces, compromised seals, and structural deformation. All personnel remain in shelters until atmospheric particulate levels decrease to Category 2. Commander Sarah ordered. Estimated time, 3 hours. When they were finally cleared to emerge, the cadets stepped out into a changed world. The once coppery sky had cleared to a pale orange, washed clean by the storm's passage. The silica dunes glittered in the sunlight, beautiful despite the destruction they had wrought. Commander Sarah assembled the cadets in the central area of the camp, her expression solemn but satisfied. This training mission has exceeded all parameters in terms of challenge and response, she began. What was intended as a controlled exercise became a genuine survival situation, and you all performed admirably. She surveyed the group, her gaze lingering momentarily on Maya. In particular, I want to acknowledge the contributions of Cadet Carter, whose primitive filtration methods proved to be our salvation when advanced technology failed. The Federation Council has officially designated these techniques as the Carter Protocol for Emergency Environmental Adaptation. A murmur of approval ran through the assembled cadets. Even those who had initially dismissed Maya's methods now nodded in respect. Additionally, Sarah continued, I have recommended that all cadets who remain through the storm receive advanced certification in extreme environment adaptation, with special commendation for innovative resource utilization. The announcement was met with tired but genuine enthusiasm. They had survived a potentially lethal situation through cooperation and adaptability, the core values the Federation claimed to embody, but sometimes forgot in its pursuit of technological advancement. As the extraction vessels descended through the atmosphere, their sleek forms gleaming against the orange sky, Maya stood slightly apart from the group, contemplating the journey they had shared. Omar approached, followed by Roll and several others, who had worked closely with her during the crisis. The commander says your methods will be incorporated into standard training for all cadets, Omar informed her with a grin. You've officially changed Federation protocol. We changed it, Maya corrected. Every one of you contributed improvements to the basic concept. Roll nodded, uncharacteristically humble. Perhaps the greatest lesson of Viridian 7 isn't about filtration techniques or survival strategies. It's about the danger of dismissing knowledge simply because it's old or comes from an unexpected source. The Federation was founded on the principle of diverse perspectives, creating stronger solutions than any single approach, added Jace. Somewhere along the way, we began equating advanced with better in all circumstances. Not anymore, Omar said confidently. Not after this. As they boarded the extraction vessels, leaving the transformed landscape of Viridian 7 behind, Maya took one last look at the planet that had challenged them so severely. The simple filtration system she had created remained in the abandoned camp, a primitive solution that had outlasted sophisticated technology when faced with unexpected challenges. Commander Sarah appeared beside her at the viewport. You've made a significant contribution to Federation protocols. Cadet Carter, your adaptability and willingness to advocate for unconventional approaches when necessary are qualities we need more of in our ranks. Thank you, Commander, Maya replied. I'm grateful the Federation was willing to reconsider its assumptions. Progress isn't always about moving forward, Sarah observed thoughtfully. Sometimes it's about remembering where we've been. As the extraction vessel accelerated away from Viridian 7, Maya reflected on the journey that had brought her here. from the ravaged recovery zones of post-crisis Earth to the stars. She had carried with her not just her personal possessions, but generations of knowledge that others had dismissed as obsolete. That knowledge had saved lives when the most advanced technology failed. In the filtered water that sustained them, and the cleaned air they breathed, she had found not just survival, but validation of a fundamental truth. The past and future were not opposed but interconnected, each informing and strengthening the other. True progress came not from discarding history, but from integrating it into new understanding. As Earth faded to a distant blue dot in the vastness of space, its legacy lived on in the Carter Protocol, a bridge between worlds and times, between the ancient wisdom of adaptation and the boundless potential of the stars.